Welcome everybody. Now we have a panel discussion which is represented by representatives from Salesforce, Google and Microsoft, being Don, Maria and Therese. Really happy to have you here. We will discuss a topic that really is in your mind all the time. I guess you're working with partners on a daily basis. And we have been supporting many of the smaller partners of yours to grow. And it will be really interesting to hear your input on the different topics that we're going to discuss today. And also we have Stefan Wård, but it's beside me, so I will try to back off. So maybe, Stefan, you can start with just with the first question that you have.
Yes, exactly. So given the ongoing transition from on-prem to cloud, does your partners represent an increasingly vital sales channel? We can start with Dan, maybe.
Yeah, sure. Before I answer the question, I just want to say that it's a privilege to sit here with both of you. You know, the tech industry, as you who listened to the Salesforce session earlier, we talk about equality. So super happy to see that I am underrepresented on the stage, apart from you two. That's not normally the case. And also to be here with both Microsoft and Google is not every time we sit together, so it's great. And to answer your question, for us, it's not about cloud or on-prem. You know, that story and that train has left the station many years ago. So I think, you know, when we look at the ecosystem of Salesforce, it's about you know, providing incremental value to the customers in the industries and the geographies they serve. So transition to cloud, I think that is, you know, not so much a question these days that it was maybe, you know, back in 1999 or early 2000 when Salesforce was founded.
Yeah, so we have a follow-up question on that relates to the transition that we spoke about a long time ago. Is that the main reason behind your increased focus on building partner networks? We can maybe direct that question to Maria and Therese.
Definitely, and I must say that I think the train has left the station, but it's still accelerating. So I think that for me, you know, being in the cloud, in the teenage area, I like to think of cloud, is super exciting. And like all the hyperscalers, if I'm generalizing, you know, Microsoft, AWS, Google Cloud, the best is yet to come, I think. So what is a Gartner says, it's up to 70-80% of the total addressable market that is yet to be cloudified, and that's super exciting. So we will never be able to grow and do the things we want to do and build the cool stuff and solutions for our clients without a strong partner network. That would be impossible. So this is only not good to do or nice to do, it's critical, I would say, for us to reach our ambitions as well.
Yeah, I mean, first the topic of cloud or non-cloud or on-premise. Well, I think when we look into the customer situation, yes, there is a complexity there because they still have a legacy. And that's why the ISV business and this fast start spearhead partners are so important for them to be able to develop and to transition into and to modernize themselves. So I think that is the core why the ISV business is right now that is 100% global, and it's also very flexible and also on in the cloud. And that's why it's so important for them to be able to innovate. So, and they are growing, the ISV business is growing even more than more of the more traditional partner business network.
And a question relating to that as well. We have noticed that partners and also implementation partners, etc., have an offering on top of your offering to have a new income stream which has better margin profile and also add recurring revenue to the business that they have no history of having before. Do you believe that what we're seeing right now is just a start of something that will become way huger in the future? Or how do you see it, Therese?
Well, absolutely. And just coming back to the fundamentals, we have the ISVs, they are spearhead coming from the industry, and they have also very deep understanding of how they can build a value to the customer, because it's finally the customer who needs to choose and select. And that's also why we have the partner ecosystem. You have a partner who also collaborates with different kind of ISVs, so they can embed that in a larger delivery for the customers, because this is not small customers. And what we have also seen in Microsoft that is really interesting, that is like the retail industry, for example. They're building like large companies like H&M. They go in and invest in their own ecosystem of ISVs to be a bit more innovative, because they can't really be that innovative within their own company and with their own structure. So I think that is really, really something that is coming very strong from the industry and building that surrounding ecosystem. Super.
And do you have the same take, Maria and Don?
I mean, I see sort of, I see myself as a platform of innovation, really. So if you look at building a house, you know, we would represent the concrete platform, right? So we have a really good horizontal breadth. And to some extent, you know, the outer walls and a few other things can be in place, but like that last mile build, if you will, that a tailored niche solution can provide to a client will always be in demand. So as I see it, this is a way of reaching a greater sophistication of this house, because we can't do everything for everybody, right? Like that would be impossible. So if anything, I foresee an even greater complexity, just also within the partner ecosystem with the large players, but also the boutique partners, if you will, but also within the ISV community, the larger ones, but also even more functionally specialized, even more industry specialized. I work a lot with gaming clients, for example, and I see a great white space there to have, for example, both partners very, very knowledgeable and specialized within gaming, which is the new, dare I say, entertainment business of tomorrow. So greater complexity, and if anything, the future CTO will have to become much better at shopping, you know, putting together like what to build, what to buy.
Okay. And you, Don?
Well, I think, you know, ecosystem as a broad term, and if we kind of narrow it in on the independent software vendors, where we have many in, you know, companies that are born and bred out of Sweden, you know, the cost of entry today is, you know, close to nothing compared to what it was kind of a decade ago. If you choose to go on Amazon or Azure or Google or Salesforce, you know, the cost of entry is low. And that is true for customers who wants to innovate on their own, to your point, and also for startups. I think what is needed to be brought to the table is to, you know, what is the white spots, where is the value add we will create as a company, or where is the differentiation we want to create within our kind of own company's four walls. And I think, you know, the tagline of this is kind of piggybacking on tech giants. You know, it's about what's the complementary stuff that we don't do that, you know, is a spot in the market where we can complement and create, you know, 1 + 1 is more than 3 ideally. So I think that is kind of it's a low cost entry and an opportunity which is massive.
Interesting, and thinking about all of you want to have more ISVs, and we are seeing that ISVs in general are thriving, but also noticing that they are specializing on one ecosystem. So how do you make sure to actually be the perfect ecosystem for the ISV? Maybe we start with Maria this time.
Ooh la la. Well, you know, I would say that open source is in the very DNA of Google and Google Cloud. So we come from the angle of building on top of each other's ideas. And I think, so that is our like basic philosophy within the company, actually. And I think that, I mean, we see that as a winning strategy as well. We don't do that only because it's fun and we feel it's philosophically right, but we see that it is going in that direction as well, that the complexity of solutions will be greater, and it's likely that the platform that are welcoming and accommodating the most different types of solutions and being able to connect them and put them together, hence giving the CTO, again, if I take her or his angle, giving that person the architectural freedom of choice. And now I almost lost what I was answering. I was like spinning away. No, but so I think that that's really the position to be actually. I think it's a winning strategy to be as open as possible, and as an ISV, also not be afraid, or partner to be afraid to stick out your chin and say, this is what we're really good at. This is the industry we're super good at, that we're super betting at. So that if I sort of make a projection in the future, that's what I see. But in general, I think it's not a. It will likely not be a successful strategy, and I'm saying this because I come from that. To say you can only do this here, you can only do this there. A lock-in strategy, I have yet to see being successful in the long run.
And how about Therese?
No, I mean, Microsoft, we are a partner-led. We have a partner-led business, so we would not survive. I mean, we are usually joking about it in the office and say we can, 90% of the employees can go home in Microsoft, and then we will survive with our partners, and that is a bit of truth in that. But what we can see is that the fundamentals of the cloud and the Microsoft cloud is that we provide capabilities for everyone. So it's also like a democratic question for all companies to be able, small or large, to low cost, for easy accessible, spearhead capabilities to build their own solution. And that's the core of the cloud, the flexibility, low cost, scalability, and also how you can actually provide and build for yourself. And that is the beauty of this business.
You done?
I think you need to repeat the question, please.
No, it was that we have a number of ISV have been growing, but they also tend to tailor sometimes to specific ecosystems.
Mm-hmm.
And like, how do you make sure to be the right ecosystem for the ISV, essentially?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a good question. So, taking a step back, in 2005, Salesforce pioneered something called the App Exchange. It was actually called the App Store, but our founder and co-CEO, Mark Benioff, sold it for $1 to the late Steve Jobs, hence the name App Exchange. To date, we have, I think, north of 5,000 independent software vendors who have built tailored applications on top of our platform. And yet to date, I think we have about 10 million downloads globally. Some 90% of the Fortune 100 list use a plugin to Salesforce. So I think for us, it's about focus. What does this company do? We do CRM, and that is a kind of a broad spectrum, but everything from marketing, sales, service, aftermarket, e-commerce, analytics, and integration. What kind of ecosystem do I have as an ISV that want to tap into the global reach of Salesforce? That's kind of a question you should ask yourself, I think, and similar to Google, Microsoft, and others. What is the value add, and who do I want to partner with? But I think focus and not doing everything in combination with the lock-in comment from Google, I think it's important.
Interesting. And just considering that we have helped a lot of smaller companies raise capital, and we have heard like investors' concern in this space, and there is always a concern that you giants start to offer a solution that is simply the same as the ISV offering today, and therefore they have a huge risk that they are taking on. So like the conflict of interest aspect there is really interesting for us to understand, like how do you view it? Because you have an ISV, but you simultaneously think, okay, maybe we can develop it by ourselves, etc. So it will be interesting to hear you elaborate on the conflict of interest. And maybe, Don, you can start this time.
Sure, thank you. So I'm a big fan of a competitive landscape, right? And competition is always good. It creates more innovation. I think if, of course that could be, part of the decision based on what kind of market or functional area or, industry to address based on how crowded is it and so forth. But if we look at history, a very valid, point of entry, if a giant, if you will, would decide to pursue a functional area which is dominated by ISV, the exit story in a variety of examples are also known, right? And if you look at, MarTech stack is significantly crowded. I think there is, there is lunch to have for many, and if we're starting to, it's a balance act of competing with the ecosystem, yes, but I think also healthy compete is good, and I think if you are a company that is kind of part of a pocket of the ecosystem of the value of a giant, I think you should be more focused on winning market share than fearing competition from the giant.
And what is your view of this balancing act, Therese?
No, I fully understand the question, of course, but from a Microsoft perspective, we are a partner-led company. That means that we are 100% dependent also with the collaboration from, yes, everyone. That will be the scenario, and it's in final stage is a customer who will make a choice. So I think that it's not really about the competition with Microsoft, because we have such a broad portfolio. We also have such a broad platform that is cloud-based and hybrid-based, if you would like to, as well. So we deliver every kind of technology and capability, and that is for our partners to build upon. That's the fundamental model. So I would rather say that the question is more, how can we help? And where can we bring value? And where will the ISV and the partner ecosystem bring value to our customers and our common and joint customers? And I think that's also where we can find this spearhead solution, where, of course, we can benefit from the cloud platform that Microsoft has, but then also the ISVs. So yes, there will be a competition, but not with Microsoft. It will be a compete situation with all the partners that is building upon our platform.
Mm. And Maria, you also mentioned the openness of the Google ecosystem, and that also ties into the conflict of interest area as well.
Yeah.
So maybe you can also develop from
sure.
YouTube,
No,
from
it is. I mean,
perspective.
it is what it is, right? But again, we will never be able to build both horizontally and then be super sophisticated in each and every function or vertical. So per se, we will never be able to, we will never be able to compete, if you will, with a super niched, retailed, tailored, like they nailed this specific thing. So, and I've seen also the power of, as you mentioned, the power of competition. We have, for example, a very interesting fleet routing solution for delivery trucks, right? So it's a retail-related solution. So it's really solving the what's it called, the handelsresandes problem, the great optimization problem that some of us might have to struggle with the differential equations at uni at some point. But a classical problem, like how to take the fastest route, and we do this with a combo of like machine learning and the data we have from maps and blah blah blah. Anyway, we have this client, and they chose our product, and as it turned out, they actually could reduce costs of about 30% for this product. We're like, yay! As it turns out, they are now actually also, they will have access to a similar solution that they will have done in-house very shortly. So our product is standing against their, sort of homemade thing, which is actually super intelligent and also deploying machine learning, la la la. So, and we might get kicked out, to be completely frank. And they say, thank you, we'll run the infra, we'll run the everything, but this thing, we will actually do our own thing. So again, I think, and that will be a bummer, of course, for us, but there's also something beautiful in there, isn't it? Because it's exactly to your point. It sparks innovation. We have to make our product even sharper, right? Because otherwise, we will not be able to compete in this specific area. So, I truly see it as a humbling and a innovation trigger. Truly.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So when we look at the partners, where do you find that they add the most value in your respective ecosystems, and how do you incentivize them to target those areas? We can start with you again, Maria. Okay.
Well, again, I think as the former presenter said on stage, that I think his former boss at ABB had said once, business is made locally to a very large majority. Google will never hire another 50, 60, 70% or more in workforce, in people. It's expensive, although we want to grow with those numbers, right? So per se, we will need to have an extended workforce, and that's, I think, how we view our partners. We will never be able to do what we want to do, and I think that my personal outlook for the future is that we have a super growth opportunity from the cloud side in this mid-sized enterprise segment. I think that is going to grow immensely, you know, going from having their own service into playing with moving that into the cloud. So everything from making those kind of migrations, but also for clients that are born in the cloud, if you will, like the native cloud ones, having them build and go further with their own platforms. We need partners for that. Google will never have the hands and the feet to do all of these motions, never. So if anything, I think the partner landscape is going to grow in importance for us. And that is, and also as our leader, Thomas Kurian, said that, you know, just a few years ago, it was like, yes, you know, let's encourage everybody to work with partners where it's possible. And now I get from my managers like, Maria, why is not a partner involved in this situation? Like, you know, we're getting questioned to why not? And that's a shift, I think, that I've seen the past two years maybe. So clearly a partner-led direction for us. Long answer, sorry.
And Therese?
Well, and the question was how we incentivize.
Yeah, how you drive your partners into the areas where you want
them to focus. Coming back to all Microsoft sellers are incentivized in working with partners and ISVs. That is in our DNA, and I think that is important because that opens up an amazing opportunity for selling with and to present a value proposition that is spearhead, unique for super large customers on the global market. So it's open up to all the top 500 Fortune customers. That is a bit of the Pandora's box, and we sell together. So we do all the co-sell, and then we also have the fundamentals, I would say, platforms for a little bit of app source, marketplace that could also be customized for our larger customers. So, and then you have the access to all that customer network and all the Salesforce from Microsoft. So that is a huge opportunity for every partner.
Maybe I should add that because that was really your question, that I think all the cloud hyperscalers have, in that sense, similar approaches. We incentivize the partners for selling our products. We have a marketplace, which is a distribution channel for them. They get access to all of our clients globally as well, and we have incentives for our sellers. So I think that is pretty similar when I sort of listen around about what our friends in the business are doing as well. I think also increasingly speed to market will also be something per se that will become better with a partner involved. So I mean that is also money and incentives for a client to do a project or a migration with a partner instead of themselves.
Leaves me. I think 2 points here to make. I think first of all, what is the ecosystem? ISVs who are building capabilities on top of the platform, right? And the second is, SIs or system integrator who are actually, taking care to de-risk the do-step to make sure the value is extracted and from the technology. IDC made a study across the globe stating 9.3 million jobs going to be created until 2026 in the ecosystem of Salesforce, somewhat 43,000 in Sweden alone. So, 43,000 jobs, what is that? Well, it's typically consultants, that is the demand. So the supply is far less than the demand in the local market in Sweden and globally for Salesforce. So that's a huge opportunity to reskill, upskill, and get new talents into the ecosystem, something we all benefit from because it's anorectic to locally. The second part of that is, I think, the mindset in this dying age is not kickbacks from giants. It's about what's the value add we can create on our own capabilities. That is process, that's industry, that is technology, and also know-how in certain spots like marketing, like e-commerce. You know, again, the supply is greater than the demand, so double down on those skills, and that's where you should build a business model, not a model which is based on rebates and kickbacks.
Good. I think that we had nearly all of IT consultancy companies that is listed here in Sweden presenting, has been presenting here today. So I think we're drawing when hearing what you're mentioning about the implementation hours that they can put in. But I also think about the current situation. I mean, there's a lot of ISVs, but what are the white spaces, concrete, that you're seeing in the ecosystems where you believe, okay, this is an area to attack and you will probably enjoy quite hefty growth for some years to come? Maybe you, Maria, can start this time.
Okay, well, I have a few, like looking into my crystal bowl. And we actually had a few Googlers, you know, I was going to say jumping ship, that doesn't sound really nice, but jumping on to new adventures and actually starting partner organizations. So clearly they are also seeing great opportunities in this area. So one thing, I spoke to a partner, I'm not going to name which one, the other week, and the man in charge said to me, I'm like, what are you really good at? Like, what is your company really good at? He was like, really large scales migrations. I'm like, okay, but how about the mid-sized? How about the smaller to mid-sized migration? Because there would be a land-grabbing opportunity, I believe, for, you know, going from on-prem into cloud. So please, guys, if you have a few minutes over or, you know, some spare time, do start a partner who is niched at middle-sized migrations into cloud. That would be super. And also, when it comes to the more DN, digital native or born in the cloud companies, gaming also. I think this is a very vibrant, exciting industry, also pretty resilient towards economic fluctuations. So within gaming, I see a lot of opportunity for specialization.
Thank you. And you, Therese?
Well, I would like to raise 3 topics here, or 3 opportunities, gaming, of course, but I also see different, we have a very strong industry in Sweden, and every one of us, we should move north, because we have the energy capabilities in the energy sector and also the fossil-free energy. That is a tremendous competitive edge for us. And here I think we have a lot of workforce in that industry, and also the processes that is really interesting to be part of that digitalization journey. And then we also see healthcare. Healthcare in an export level. Yeah. In the US, for example, I see a tremendous opportunity in US, UK, Germany, and also in the OECD countries. That is growing and quite new into the system of digitalization. It's a lot on-prem, so it's a lot for the ISV, who can be a bit faster, low cost, and bit speed and spearhead solutions for them.
Great, and I saw that you were nodding on the healthcare, and considering time has run out, I think that you were also pointing towards
Well, I want to answer the question, because I love this question, if you don't mind.
Yeah, totally.
So I think, you know, first of all, you know, the way I view it is, where do capital and talent go? And to your point, we got Northvolt, we got H2 Green Steel with Henrik Henriksson, the former CEO of Scania, jumping up on a startup, if you will, obviously heavily funded. And so obviously, you know, we are missioning on a net zero cloud. We are a net zero company. So I think the sustainability arena in clean tech, I think 63 billion SEK is invested by foreign and domestic capital in the Nordic and Baltic region alone on clean tech. So obviously, the sustainability powerhouse of the Nordics and Sweden is something we should definitely double down and you know, capitalize on. And I said earlier in my opening, you know, the train has left the station. but not in all industries. So regulated industry like healthcare, financial services is obviously, soon to leave at scale.
Yeah, I know. I work at one.
I know.
So
We can
I
go
know our
together.
service structures are. But thank you. I mean, we can discuss all the day, but unfortunately, we have an agenda to have a next company presenting. But really happy to have you here. Really interesting to have your thought on these topics. So thank you so much, and an applaud for the representatives.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.